Setting goals is really important for your climbing because it gives you something to structure your training around. When I was 12, I started climbing under the apprenticeship of Mark Pretty, a very well-known English climber who grew up climbing with Ben Moon and Jerry Moffat, and he learned a lot from them the same way I did from him. He gave me this blue book, which became my training diary, and in the front of it he wrote a little training mantra, which is stuck very close to me over the last 17 years that I've been climbing. On the first page he writes, "Commitment is the backbone, strength, and driving force of achievement," which really set the tone for the kind of attitude that I brought to the climbing wall every time that I trained with him. He followed with a short paragraph about how to set your goals, the importance of setting realistic goals, and where your focus should be at each moment when you're training. Improvement is based on one key foundation, the desire to improve. From this flows the motivation and enthusiasm to find the correct methods to improve and to apply oneself. When these methods are found, you can then move towards fulfilling your particular ambitions. On the road to your ultimate period of highest performance, there will be many smaller peaks. These are the stepping stones that you focus a particular period of training upon. At the summit of a particular goal, you can then, and only then, look to the next. The learning curve is a difficult road and only comes with effort. There are no shortcuts. The quality of your efforts when training, the desire, discipline, attention, and enthusiasm that you bring with you are the key to all future success. One might want to climb a specific climb or grade a difficulty, but regardless, it needs to be broken down into its individual parts. There seem to be two distinct ways of setting smaller goals here that can help reach the larger goal. You can go back to the gym and recreate that style and really try and work your weakness of the style of the goal. That's definitely helpful. And you can also pick some smaller goals also outside that will help you reach the bigger goal. There's a difference between setting an achievement-based goal for yourself and a qualitative goal. An achievement-based goal would be a specific problem, for example, or a grade, whereas a qualitative goal would be improving upon a weakness or an area of your climbing that you see to be hindering your ability to move forward. I think it's good to think about your climbing as a sphere that's made up of lots of individual parts, and if one part is specifically low or lower than the rest, that's going to hold you back. And so I think a qualitative goal would be moving that one element up, which may be more of a long-term goal, but it will help move your whole ability forward. An achievement-based goal might be to climb a specific crimpy V11 that you really want to do, that given enough time and tries, you can do, but it's not going to improve your climbing. A qualitative approach to achieving this goal would be to climb a lot of crimpy stuff in the gym and to try and do some really crimpy V9s and V10s and to tackle those first. By gaining this experience, you might have a good shot at climbing that crimpy V11, and your whole ability to crimp will also move higher. That's the goal, to improve your weaknesses and build your climbing style versus just doing one specific climb and having these isolated moments of glory. Not only is it unlikely that you'll do it, but you also won't gain a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment because you'll simply be trying one thing and missing out on a lot of good other climbs. You're more likely to do this climb if you set yourself some smaller goals in the area, of a similar style, or just on that same rock type. On my first trip to Bishop, I went there with the hope of climbing the Swarm, a great crimpy line and one that I really wanted to do. I set myself one smaller goal, the Mandala, which I did quickly on my first day, but I still had 2 weeks left. Instead of climbing many, or at least a couple, climbs of that difficulty, easier than the Swarm, but still hard for me, of the same crimpy nature, I didn't. I sieged the Swarm. 2 weeks later, I came close, but to no avail, and I left not only without reaching my goal, but having only climbed one problem in the area. This was not only a very unfulfilling way to experience Bishop for the first time, but I also left with the feeling of, what should I have done differently to do the Swarm? It's important to have a plan when going to a new area, a plan that doesn't revolve only around one climb, but that involves a sort of pyramid approach in which you might have one goal, but many that lead up to it. On a trip, just getting to the top of things and doing climbs that are somewhat challenging for you can leave you with a lot of confidence and understanding of the rock. At the time of that trip to Bishop, the swarm might have been a little bit hard for me. I might have been a little overambitious. I went back afterwards and I realized that I needed to gain more mileage. I needed more problems under my belt, and just doing this one hard problem might have been good, but not that good for my climbing. A big difference. A year later, I returned, and in that year, I did a lot of things differently. I spent a lot of time climbing problems easier in the swarm. That led not only to the honing of my approach to doing problems as opposed to just trying them, but also just to the confidence and self-belief that I could do the swarm. It was a possible goal. It is perfectly understandable and natural to want to climb things that are close or above your limit at times. You want to see what a hard problem feels like, but there's an important factor, which is your expectations, and that if they're not realistic, then you're often going to be not meeting them and then feeling this sense of failure. Whereas if your approach is simply just to test it out and see what it feels like, then that's really just fulfilling your curiosities of what a hard problem feels like.